so many things that are not factually correct, but it's nice to see you.
I think like 99% of what I say is factually correct. Like,
No,
what
it's
did you
not.
hear? What did you hear that wasn't correct?
We're
that I
not going to
said?
relive the past. No, just, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Let me just keep you on your point. So what about, you said, I'm sorry. I have ADHD. You said Zelensky is what? Like, what did you say in the
Yeah,
comments?
yeah. I was just trying to figure out. I said, I typed in that he was. It looks to me like he's. It looks like this whole thing is a money grab. I mean, wars typically are, in my view, and everybody's got their fingers in the cookie jar. From Russia to Ukraine to the United States, right? So, but when you look at what he does and how he does it, I mean, you're gonna burn through 1,000 people a week, and you're gonna just. You can't figure it out.
I can't do it. Okay, let me help you figure it out because you are scared. I'm sorry, Cosmo. Did Zelensky start a war?
No.
Okay, cool. So you're acting like he's profiting off a war, right? In what way? He's not.
Have you ever seen his assets?
Yeah. Oh no. I know all about Zelensky's assets. You're an idiot who doesn't. Yeah, he's a very, very, very famous person. Prior to ever running for political office, he had hundreds of millions of euros. You just are too stupid to follow the money. Yeah, if you believe that any of his money, which this has been investigated, just like Trump investigated Biden for the last 15 years looking for something he could use against him. So too did they investigate Zelensky. Zelensky made money. He's an entertainer. He's one of the most famous entertainers in the broken up USSR. He had all of his money prior to office. You can look this up if you don't believe me. I did research on it.
I did look into it.
Oh, so you know. So you know, and you're trying to say you're wasting my time. Can you stop wasting my time and either provide proof that Zelensky is a war profiteer or stop making up lies in my chat?
I don't think... I think he is a war profiteer.
Let me just get this straight. Are you implying that Zelensky is in league with Putin and said, invade my country and we will profit off this together? That's not what happened, Cosmo. That's not what happened. No, it's not highly speculative. It's idiotic.
I didn't say that, though.
Okay. Well, let me just offer some things. Do you understand how the global supply chain works? Ukraine's losing money left and right. This is the breadbasket of the world. In order to make money and profit, in order for the markets to be right side up, we don't need war. That was sort of, and I'll say this, I don't like globalism. Like MAGA hates globalism. I actually don't think it's a great thing either. Especially the new... Well, no. Well, let me finish. The only good part of globalism is what? Peace through trade, right? If you want to profit, you don't do dumb shit like rolling tanks into other countries. Like, do you have any evidence that Zelensky engineered the start of the war in Ukraine?
No. I didn't say that either. I never said that he engineered it.
Because your idea that he's a war profiteer is ludicrous. So
you can still. The way it works is
provide evidence that he either, which it doesn't make sense because in Putin's own words, right? Putin describes how they've had this birthright since whatever 800 AD, and will take you through 4 hours of nonsense. Watch his interview with Tucker Carlson. Watch it translated. Nothing you're saying makes any sense. As a matter of fact, and I'll just help you.
95% of what you said, I didn't say.
No, you said that Zelensky was a war profiteer.
Yes, I do believe that.
Okay, so provide evidence of that.
I think that, he was a wealthy man coming in, and I think he's a wealthier man today.
No.
That's not evidence of anything, dummy. First of all, second of all,
Cosmo never says anything. It's like talking.
So you think he's poor? He's
okay. So let me just explain to you something.
Net worth went down.
Let me help you. So you're saying if you were a wealthy man before, and due to whatever your unrealized capital gains, you become wealthy, then you're complicit in a crime. Wealthier, you're complicit in a crime because you're describing
only
now,
only if that's Donald Trump.
I mean, that
only
is
if that's
Trump.
Trump.
That's Trump.
Stop.
That's, no, proof? Wait, it's Trump. It's Putin. No, I'm making a simple thing that you're not even getting my point. You're saying that unrealized capital gains, if you have investments that become worth more, you're complicit in war profiteering. That doesn't make any sense. Cosmo, unless you're going to provide direct evidence. Okay, then you're an idiot. You're not saying anything. Say something that makes sense.
I think you're like all over the place.
Let me just say something. One of us,
agree with you
there's
something.
3 people on this live. One person is all over the place.
Nothing you're saying makes sense. I agree with you on something. You just come on lives and
you're like, oh, I had some feelings. Like, I'm going to throw them up on the internet. Yeah.
Feelings.
Do you have evidence?
Feelings. Just look at his net worth today compared to what it was.
We asked you for evidence, and the first thing you said was, "Well."
And by the way, his net worth has not grown. I look it up. You are
okay. So what's his net worth?
That's not true.
You looked it up.
Let me help you. It's not my job to help you substantiate lies.
Well, you're saying it's misinformation.
You're just flailing around saying shit. This is why I don't debate anymore. Cosmo, you have no idea what you're talking about. You are just making shit up off something you heard me say, and what you are claiming is 100% incorrect. I want to say this. My job.
Did you graduate high school?
Jesus.
Just out of curiosity. I mean, what's
I
your
was
background?
a Division I volleyball player, and my brain works much better than yours. I was a teacher. I have a history degree. I was a historical researcher. Then I worked in advertising. I know much more than you do about everything. Yeah, Cosmo, you're just a lot. I know what you're thinking. Oh, there's a woman. She must have a tiny brain. The only person up here. No, the Joanna, who's under you, is a black woman with an MBA who's an elected official. Oh, no. You are the only person up here who's uneducated. That's sorry. Where did you get a degree from? I didn't hear.
Polytech Brooklyn, double E.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
Well, that's where I went.
Okay, you don't. What do you have a degree in?
Electrical engineering.
He can't. I'm sorry. I would bet my life that that's a lie. And I mean that. I play this game. I talk about this. Okay. Yeah, like in a philosophy class, we used to play this game. We used to play this game like if someone held a pew-pew up to your head and said, do you believe what that person is telling you? And if you're wrong, you will be unalived. This is one of those moments where I am 100% sure you're not an electrical engineer. Only because to get an engineering degree, you have to. Well, let me explain to you why. To get an engineering degree, you have to have a strong math science background, and anybody I've ever met with a strong math science background would never say the things you say. I know it's a lie. I just do. What? I don't want. Well, listen. Here's how debate goes. You can prove me wrong and show me your electrical engineering degree with your name on it. I know you're lying.
We're going to do that in front of 533 people. No, I'm just
telling you, I know you don't. I know for a fact you don't have a. I know you don't have a strong base in math. You can't do math. You cannot do math. Cosmo, you can't be an engineer and have no concept of math. You cannot do math, but you're an electrical engineer. Yeah, you're the person that's making sure buildings electric is safe when you literally can't do math. No, you're not an electrical engineer. I would literally any moment of any week. Wait, tell me the name of your school because I'm going to call the registrar.
I'm also a biomedical engineer.
I dated a biomedical engineer. You know what his job was? I dated a biomedical engineer. His job, he sat in on pacemaker surgeries, and he was the only one allowed to manipulate the devices. Now you're an electrical engineer and you're a biomedical engineer. You are truly the dumbest person on the internet. And any day of the week, Cosmo, I will bet
my expertise
that you're
gonna like this one too. My expertise is in radiological diagnostics and magnetic resonance imaging. That's my expertise.
Yeah. None of which that has to do with electrical engineering or biomedical. It
all has to do with electrical
I just want to be clear. Now he's a radiologist who identifies, who looks at x-rays. You're an idiot.
No.
You're truly...
I said MRI, magnetic resonance imaging is MRI.
Okay, again, which is not what biomedical engineers do, and which is not
that's
what
part of biomedical engineering.
So you're an electrical engineer that then.
Yes.
So how many degrees do you have?
The emphasis in biomedical engineering.
No, that's not how it works.
Yes.
Yes,
you can be in electrical engineering. You can get into different modalities.
I'm gonna.
You have different modalities in electrical engineering. You think that biomedical engineering, you started out as an electrical engineer? I did, yes.
Okay, just put up, let me tell you something. If you have these different degrees, which biomedical engineering is not an emphasis on electrical engineering.
I get a lot of sheepskin, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it is Mr. Jones. This is giving Mr. Jones. It's like getting real weird.
So anyway, so you're a master's, so you said you had a master's degree, right?
Oh, I said Joanna had an MBA.
Oh, she has the MBA.
Correct.
And I agree with you. Cosmo, let me just say something. I don't have any more time. You are the dumbest. I don't believe you're an electrical engineer for a second. I used to find you like...
Do you know what Ohm's law is?
I used to... Oh, my God. Look...
Do you know what pi is? Do you know what Ohm's law is?
Electrical engineer ever. Like, this is insane.
You know what medical devices are?
You don't give a vocab test. Do I know what medical devices are?
Well, you're challenging me, so I'm throwing it at you.
Let me help you. Let me do it for you. You're on the big screen. This is your time. Just show us your degrees.
We don't go on
Show us your degrees.
TikTok.
Show us your degrees.
Anything.
Show us your degrees. If you have any degree, if you graduated high school, which we all, any proof that you, Cosmo, your brain doesn't work. You're an insult to electrical engineers anywhere. Okay. Thank you, Cosmo. Don't ever, and I want to say this. If you want to come back on, call the registrar of your school or provide me off if you're like, I don't want to do this online.
Are you serious?
No, listen to me. If you want to, you told me the name of your school. This is recorded. I'm going to look it up. And believe me, one of my best skills and why I was paid so much. Wait, let me finish something. One of my best skills and why I was paid so much in the tech industry was because of cloud-based query. I can find anyone and anything. So now that you said the name of your alleged school, I'm going to call the registrar and I'm going to match what you said and you say, this guy says he has an electrical engineering and a biomedical degree. Those are two different things. I don't even think they're offered at the school you named because I just looked it up. Oh, it's different schools, everyone. Because I looked up the school and you are a fucking liar. You are a liar.
No, that's not lying.
Everyone turns out not the school he named. Can't get both those degrees at the school he named because he's a pathological liar.
You're such a pivoter.
I'm pivoting because you're a pathological liar.
Like you're like
because
losing
I looked
it.
up the name of the school and the degrees you're listing aren't offered, and now I'm a liar. You're a liar. You lied, Cosmo.
You're like wacky.
Yeah, I'm so wacky. So wacky when you're like when you just Google the degrees and the name of the school that someone says they got, and then that school doesn't offer those degrees, and then I'm what? Yeah, you said you got these degrees at a school, and then I just Googled the school, and then I looked up the degrees, and they're not offered there. So yeah, I mean, I must be wacky, or you're a pathological liar. Yeah, Tic Tac's here. He's a rocket surgeon. Let's all name random schools and claim weird degrees we have. I'm a brain surgeon, and I did date a biomedical engineer. And for him to claim that he's an electrical engineer and a biomedical engineer, I just want you to know how diametrically opposed those are and how much time it takes for each of those. And then not just once you get the initial degrees, but to advance in those degrees and how you need to, there's learning after that to get paid more and more. And it's an insult to every single person in those two fields that weirdo claimed he was part of them. I'm sorry. Yes, there we go. We have a giraffe stylist. That's actually way more believable. That's way more believable.
And it sounds super duper interesting.
Let's all make up our fake careers, Cosmo. Cosmo, just be a normal person. You don't have to lie. That's just so. And I want to say this because I value engineers and intelligence and the time it takes to get to those degrees. And I know a lot of people that have them. And Cosmo, I just want you to know, for your own sake, no one would ever believe you are those things. I mean, I know electrical engineers. They don't speak like you, honey. You are lost. Exactly. I also am a supermodel. We are in hell. We are in MAGA believes that they watch Trump live. They're like, yeah, I'm awesome too. It's like, can someone kill me now?
Not knowing the difference between your and claiming to be a biomedical engineer is peak insanity. Thank y'all for the taps. We're almost at 300K, although we should have been there. I know that Cosmo annoyed the living bejesus out of us all, but let's get those taps up. We're on the road to 400K at this point, and I know that we can get there super duper quick. But yeah, Cosmo, cut it out. You also can't spell awesome. So yeah, you can't spell. You have no comprehension or science reasoning. Like you're an idiot. You're a complete idiot. My grandson, who isn't even 6 months old yet, can probably comprehend things better than you. You're a moron. Please leave us intelligent people alone.
He said, I'm a biomedical engineer, and I described to him the biomedical engineer's job that I dated. And he goes, when he was trying to prove later, like 2 minutes later, that he was a biomedical engineer, he goes, do you know what a medical device is? It's like, I just explained to you what a medical device was, the guy I dated in his job, and that he manipulated that device in surgeries, and no one else could report that, no one else could touch that device. And then literally it's like, do you know what a medical device is? Yeah, I spent 3 minutes explaining to you an example of a medical device and how I knew a real biomedical engineer what is true. God bless him. I'm sorry. I'll never make that mistake again. I think I had a conversation with him once where he was less annoying. Like, he was just more genuine. I think he feels sometimes like he has to like do some weird show or something that's super annoying. I don't know. That was weird. I remembered him in my head as different. That's what I'm trying to say. I didn't mean to like make.
And it's not getting him anywhere because he still only has 38 followers. So what is it profiting you, Cosmo?
Maybe it was with Pickles. Pickles makes people like be calm. I don't know. Like, I feel like once I had a conversation with him where I was like, okay, like this is normal. Okay, I want to show these clips because a lot of that we wasted a lot of time. I want to show this interview with Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut talking about what Trump was up to this weekend, because I think this is a good like level set. My God, I don't know what
fire agreement
happened.
now.
Sorry. Something just. Sorry, my screen froze.
Secretary Rubio, we specifically started talking about the fact that President Trump initially said he wanted a ceasefire agreement. Now he wants a broader peace deal. Secretary Rubio defending that approach, basically saying the Russians wouldn't agree to a ceasefire. Do you think that it's the right strategy to now focus on that broader peace deal?
That meeting was a disaster. It was an embarrassment for the United States. It was a failure. Putin got everything he wanted. I mean, first of all, he wanted that photo op, right? He wanted to be absolved of his war crimes in front of the world. He was invited to the United States. War criminals are not normally invited to the United States of America. He is intentionally murdering civilians. He's kidnapping children. And now he got to stand next to the president of the United States, legitimized in the view of the world.
I don't know what something is happening on. Hold on a second. Something is happening with TikTok. It's like, hold on. I'm so sorry. I didn't do that. Something's happening with TikTok Studio. Sorry. I don't know what is going on. Give me it. Probably Cosmo is reporting our live. I don't know, but that was not supposed to happen. I'm just going to rewind this a little bit and unmute it. But yeah, I keep getting weird things. I haven't gotten violations, but I'm getting like things are just shutting down.
Criminals are not normally invited to the United States of America. He is intentionally murdering civilians. He's kidnapping children. And now he got to stand next to the president of the United States, legitimized in the view of the world. Second, he didn't have to give up anything, nothing. Right? President Trump said he wanted a ceasefire. It appears the ceasefire wasn't even seriously discussed. And then third, there's no consequences. Trump said, if I don't get a ceasefire, Putin's going to pay a price. And then he walked out of that meeting saying, I didn't get a ceasefire. I didn't get a peace deal. And I'm not even considering sanctions. You heard Secretary Rubio downplay sanctions. And so Putin walks away with his photo op with zero commitments made and zero consequences. What a great day for Russia.
What about, heard my conversation with Secretary Rubio.
Hey there. I don't know what is happening. Sorry. I just that was that whole clip. And I don't know why things are stopping playing or resetting or whatever is happening right now. I don't know. But yeah. Okay. I love Chris Murphy and I think he has great points. And I have I think 2 or 3 more clips of him. And I think he's so great.
What about the argument that you heard Secretary Rubio make, which is he said he doesn't think that sanctions would make a difference in terms of forcing a ceasefire agreement? Does he have a point? I mean, after all, we have seen President Putin continue this war, dropping bombs relentlessly, despite the fact that there have been all of these sanctions imposed against him.
So he is right that sanctions have not had any practical impact thus far. But that is in part because our sanctions are directly levied on Russia. And there's very limited economic relationship between the United States and Russia. These next sanctions that we're talking about, that Congress is considering authorizing, are actually secondary sanctions, sanctions that would make it hard for Russia to continue to do business with countries like China and India, who are essentially funding the war. So this next set of sanctions could be much more impactful. The problem is, in the Senate, the Republican leader won't even bring up a vote, a debate on this bill, because Donald Trump doesn't even want a discussion about these sanctions because he's so worried that it might upset his great friend Vladimir Putin. What is most impactful and what will be most impactful on this war are more weapons for Ukraine. And here's where Putin has the upper hand. So long as Trump is still opposed to continuing to arm Ukraine, Putin knows that it is just a matter of time before he can gain the advantage. So Putin walks away from the summit with no economic sanctions, with no sense that Trump is going to continue to send weapons to Ukraine, and essentially a green light to continue the war on his terms.
Let me ask you about what about the argument?
For God, is Cosmo still here? Cosmo, you have to go on. Can someone put Cosmo on a timeout for this? Cosmo, your brain doesn't work. We don't have time for it. Cosmo, I liked you. You're the one that had to come up here and make up a bunch of weird stories that had nothing to do with anything. You stick to the point. You are time for quiet now. It's quiet time. You can be quiet. And then, let's not talk about your past next time. Let's talk about facts and numbers about the future or the present. I think that's good. But Cosmo, I like you. It's just, you're not making any sense. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a good one too.
Trump was asked what his message will be to President Zelensky on Monday. He said to make a deal. What is your message to President Zelensky heading into these high-stake talks tomorrow?
Well, I mean, listen, I would love to tell him that there is still a bipartisan consensus to support Ukraine in the United States Senate. But as I mentioned to you, we actually have a very tough sanctions bill that gives the president the ability to levy these new sanctions against Russia. But the Senate leadership won't even bring it up for a vote. Why? Because in the Congress, the Republicans essentially work for President Trump. And if President Trump tells them that his number one priority is to keep Vladimir Putin happy, not to actually levy the kind of sanctions that would create a realistic negotiating table, Senate Republicans are going to listen. So this is a really dangerous moment because Senate Republicans, House Republicans are not willing to support Ukraine if Donald Trump won't give them the green light. And as you saw coming out of that summit, it seems that Trump's number one priority is just keeping his friend Vladimir Putin happy.
Let me ask.
Amen. I mean, that is the point. That's the reality of what we're dealing with, right? Like, Trump has neutered the legislative branch, which is the largest check against the executive branch. While we all watch, Republicans are sitting there saying, sure, do whatever you want. We'll support you. We're terrified. And I read Capitol Hill blogs. Republicans don't agree with Trump. They're just too scared to oppose him. They think he will use billionaire money and primary them. Oh, this is my favorite, which I think it's time to get into this. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, DC's been invaded or going to be invaded by the National Guard, which, let me just say, this is the next distraction from Trump being a creep in the Epstein files. Like, he needed to change the channel, and he's trying desperately to change it. That's why he started in LA. Like, posse comitatus has been violated, and you guys know, numbers are my favorite. Crime numbers are my favorite. Like, I love math. Let's talk DC crime numbers and how great they're doing bringing crime down every day of the week. Trump just is an idiot who can't count. Like, yeah, pretend DC has a crime problem when crime has dropped literally 50% in the last 2 years.
Let me ask you about what is unfolding here in the nation's capital. Federal troops patrolling the Capitol under what President Trump has called a crime crackdown. Republicans, as you know, have long tried to brand Democrats as being soft on crime. If you look at the polls, actually, Republicans get higher numbers when it comes to the public trusting them to be tough on crime. Do you think, and what is your message to people in the Capitol and elsewhere who buy into this argument that President Trump is making, that these cities are unsafe in part because of Democratic policies?
Well, first, let's just look at the actual numbers. In Washington, D.C. and all across the country, crime was going up during Donald Trump's first term. And when Joe Biden became president, crime started to come down. In fact, it's been coming down precipitously in Washington and in cities all across the country. So it's just not true, the allegation that they are making. What's happening here in Washington, D.C. is just a stunt. Donald Trump didn't like the fact that the walls were closing in on him, that his own base was questioning why he wouldn't release the Epstein files, why he was protecting very powerful people. He didn't want to talk anymore about the fact that our healthcare system is about to collapse because of the cuts that they have made, that premiums are going to go up by 75% on Americans. And so, true to form, he just decided to create a new news cycle. Nothing different is really happening in the United States Capitol today. Crime will continue to go down whether or not there are U.S. Troops here, National Guard troops here. He's just trying to distract from the stories he doesn't want Americans to be talking about.
My God. And I'm sorry, I didn't see you said it, but like, someone asked, like, who is talking? This is Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. And I love, like, the new energized Gavin Newsom. Like, I just got a little confused with Gavin when he did that weird talk show where he was like fluffing Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. But now that the new Gavin is back, that's the old Gavin that I was like, this man has like a photographic memory and can dismantle anyone in a debate. It's good to see that guy back. But like, if Gavin isn't presidential, this would be my guy, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. Like, I think Chris Murphy is the best of the best in the Senate. And I never even knew until they all became influencers. I didn't know how much I liked him. But like, since we're talking about DC, I love when John Oliver does here's a 30-second clip from John Oliver's show yesterday.
While Trump talks of bloodshed, bedlam, squalor and worse, homicides in DC were actually down 32% last year and are down another 11% this year, on top of which the city's official violent crime rate in 2024 was the second lowest reported since 1966. But obviously, crime stats don't matter to this administration. This is all about a show of power, just like it was in June when Trump deployed the National Guard to LA on similarly flimsy pretenses. And he's already warning he may do the same in New York, Baltimore, Chicago and Oakland. While Trump talks of bloodshed, bedlam, squalor,
amen. And sorry, just to make sure, I just want to nail it home, because when Trump was running for office and was making up pathological lies about crime, that was analyzing and doing statistical analysis on crime statistics and how crime statistics are gathered, and all of that became my passion. I just want to do a couple more things about how much Trump is lying about crime statistics.
If Donald Trump really wanted to address crime, he literally is defunding the police more than any president in modern history.
Slow it down and walk us through this, because I think this is the most important thing.
So I come from the city of Boston, as you mentioned. The way you measure homicides typically is per 100,000 people. So Jackson, Mississippi is 72, Memphis is 48, DC is 27, Boston is 3.5. How did we do that? We did it through community violence intervention. The clergy, the community, and the government all working together. And so the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, for example, put $250 million towards these kind of programs. Donald Trump froze 800 million Department of Justice grants, 550 programs across 48 states dedicated to things like community violence intervention. That's one of the biggest cuts in history. He also froze 700 FBI jobs, 100 million from the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, another 100 from domestic violence programs and violence against women at the DOJ. So if you actually want to address the problem of crime, you invest in these kind of programs. He's doing the exact opposite. And by the way, marching around Georgetown is not the way to reduce crime in DC, okay? Marching DEA agents around the mall where there were 0 drug incidents last year is not the way to reduce crime. If Donald Trump really wanted to address crime,
said how do we acknowledge school pew-pews are up and other things are down? Yeah, mass pew-pew events are different categories than these violent crime statistics. And I think the psychology behind those is different. And I could go on the diatribe about that. I know a lot about it, but it's not the time. What we're talking about, what we need to understand is the number one driver of crime is poverty, right? Or the main driver of crime is poverty. And because of the unavoidable worldwide pandemic that Donald Trump likes to pretend did not happen, even though it happened under him and he failed miserably at containing or remedying it, right? Because of the worldwide pandemic, the economy being shut down, people having no jobs, crime went up. It's very simple too. I once, when I used to debate more on TikTok, I talked to this guy, and I'm Hispanic. My dad's indigenous Mexican, half indigenous Mexican, half African American, and I had this conversation with this guy where he was like, "Yeah, my grandmother, is coming from I want to say Honduras, or I'm probably El Salvador, one of those," and she's like, she doesn't want the crime to follow her here. I'm just following her wishes by voting for Trump. It's so weird to hear brown people have this idea that they are the crime and it might follow them to America. You are not the crime. You have been oppressed. We have sanctioned your economies. We've devalued your currency within an inch of their lives. We've stolen the resources out from under your feet. We made you third world countries and turned off your upward mobility. And when in poverty, crime thrives. So understand that. Right. And when we provide upward mobility, crime stops. When there's access to education, when there's access to job training programs, when there's upward mobility available, crime stops. That's the fact. Crime is a last resort, but if you have to, you're going to. And I encourage everyone to educate them on crime statistics because I get Donald Trump's gearing up to do it again. Just tell a bunch of lies. 8 of the 10, I just want to be clear. When he talked at the beginning, he said, here's how we talk about crime. Yeah, their rates per 100,000, right? That's how we talk about crime. Well, that's how we talk about ABs. We talk about a lot of things. Rate per 100,000. That's how we talk about them. And as this stuff increases or decreases, you're going to hear Trump telling a lot of lies. Like, we need to get into the math of it. People need to start understanding it. Like, before the 2024 election, I used to give 3-hour talks on Trump lying on crime statistics. Crime is down. When Trump ran on crime being up and blaming it on immigrants, that was a pathological lie. Every single mathematical chart showed that Trump was lying. Does anyone care? Nope. We're doing the schmatzy thing. Blame the others. Let's point at a group and say it's their fault. There's crime. No, it's not. The reason that crime is it's not now, but I assume it will, is because as transfers of wealth continue to happen, as Donald Trump and his billionaire cronies continue to rob the rest of us, we will become so desperate. The only answer is crime. And that will start at the bottom, right? The bottom of the economy. And they'll say, look at all those criminals down there. We need to round them up, right? They're going to use that against us. I mean, you have to we're at a point where you have to understand what is going to happen and has happened in the past. Like, recognize the patterns. Poverty drives crime. As these transfers of wealth happen, as Trump robs us, as the big beautiful bill takes the last of healthcare, of SNAP money from don't blame the people at the bottom with nothing if they've got to try to steal something. Blame the people that stole it. Blame the transfer of wealth at the top of the economy. But as has been true since long before 2022, right? When we finally started righting the economy, crime is down. Crime has been down. Joe Biden lowered crime, but that's through fixing the economy and creating opportunity. You create opportunity, you lift people out of poverty, and crime goes down. Period. Oh my God. Fiona Hill, who is the foremost expert on Putin. I mean, and it's a woman, so I know, MAGA, just close your ears. A woman that is 1,000 times smarter than you'll ever be is about to speak. But this is the foreign intelligence security expert on Putin. And I just thought, she was interviewed yesterday, and I just loved her words. Oops, I almost made a sticker.
Good morning, Margaret.
Well, Fiona, you were an advisor during that infamous Helsinki summit in 2018. You've spoken about that in the past. I wonder what you think about how this Alaska summit compared.
Well, obviously quite different in many respects. Part of it was the fact that they decided to skip the one-on-one meeting and the lunch. I mean, these are usually part of the sort of set of summits like this. And the press conference obviously was more of an announcement or a set of announcements, presentations by both leaders, much more by President Putin and more of a commentary by President Trump. So there wasn't that free-for-all of press questions, which I'm sure was a bit disconcerting for you and others who were present there at Alaska. But the optics weren't exactly great, as Congressman Crow has laid out for the United States and for President Trump again. I mean, again, different. But although it was presented as perhaps a show of power by being at a US Air Force base with the flight passing of the B-52s and other fighter jets, it did certainly look much more like a show of appreciation for Vladimir Putin. And so the optics were really much more favourable to Putin than they were to the United States. It really looked like Putin had set the agenda there, the narrative, and in many respects the tone for the whole summit meeting.
Well,
I think it looked like. I think that's pretty factual.
Exactly. Well, look, this is Vladimir Putin, as usual, trying to manipulate US domestic politics. I've seen him do this over and over again, including at Helsinki, when he set the president off, not in the press conference, but before that, in a whole diatribe against his political enemies, because Putin deliberately asked him about this. So Putin knows that President Trump wants to have an acknowledgement of his self-assertion that the war wouldn't have happened had he been in the presidency. And so Putin's giving him something that plays well for President Trump in his own domestic environment. It doesn't play well in the international environment where people know things are much more complicated, but it's basically a gift and a concession to President Trump himself. And Putin wants to sow chaos in the American electoral system ahead of the midterms. So of course he's laid into this whole issue of mail-in voting. And President Trump asserted in his Fox News interview that there are no countries in the world that allow mail-in voting. Well, Russia allows mail-in voting. And if everybody wants to go out and look, they can look for themselves. In 2020, President Vladimir Putin signed into law Russians being able to vote by mail and also on the internet. And more than 30 other countries also allow some forms of mail-in voting. So it's just not true that other countries, including Russia, don't use this. It's a pure, blatant piece of manipulation. And that's the kind of thing that Putin likes to do.
And of course,
thanks for subscribing on Julie. You're the best. Wait, why can't I see the subscription? I don't know what is going on. I might need to read. I can't see the subscription. I don't know what is happening. Sorry, I don't know. TikTok Studio is acting real weird today. I did not re-download it actually before I started this. But notice what she's saying. Mail-in voting has been legal in Russia since 2020, but mail-in voting's evil. Because what happened, right? Mail-in voting, while Putin was clamping down on authoritarian fascist control and getting the point across, hey, if anyone doesn't vote for me, I'm going to disappear you. Probably going to end up in the gulag in the Arctic, or like anyone tries to run against me. What happened to, what's his name? He's dead, right? Like the poisoner in chief got the point across, and then he's like, okay, I guess you guys can mail in vote, because you know what's going to happen if you don't vote right, but that's the point. That's the literal point, is Trump is now trying to do what Putin did, what he helped Viktor Orban do in Hungary, right? Clamp down on authoritarian control. But mail-in voting is very much 100% legal in Russia. It's absolutely absurd. I don't know. God, this is Trump today, right? Like, I was filming all the Zelensky stuff, which was so embarrassing. Like, we are embarrassing as a country. But I thought it funny when it was almost like all these European leaders and like Zelensky and Trump are getting together for like a high school photo. And Trump is like caught on a hot mic being like, I think Putin wants to make a deal. That's what you said for the last 2 years. So hard to hear. It's like when I have my own headphones, he's like, I think he actually, here, I can read it to you. This is what he said. Trump on hot mic on Putin. I think he wants to make a deal for me. Do you understand? As crazy as it sounds. This is today that he was caught on a hot mic. Now, no one really knows who Jake Sullivan is, but he's like, my God, this is like, I always talk about being a sapiosexual, like attracted to people's brains. This man is brilliant. Jake Sullivan is brilliant. And this is his take yesterday. He worked, oh my God, what was he in Biden's? He was in Biden's cabinet. Was he foreign intelligence? Jake Sullivan. Biden cabinet. Sorry, I'm just remembering. He was director of policy to Barack Obama, served as president. Yeah, he was, I didn't want to say it without knowing. Yes, he was Biden's national security advisor. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get it wrong. And he was director of policy to Barack Obama. Okay.
today.
One of the things he says is that Putin was already on the world stage. You chose never, President Biden rather, you chose never to meet with Vladimir Putin. Why not?
Look, we had many different contacts with the Russians over 2.5 years, and we concluded, based on those contacts, that Russia was not in a position to come to the table in a serious way to end this war. And so we didn't want to set up a summit where we were literally rolling out the red carpet for Putin in America to have him come and walk away and continue the war without any clear and convincing outcome of the summit. So we didn't think that was possible. And having just watched Alaska, I think our judgment on that was correct. Now, does that mean there shouldn't be diplomacy with Russia? Of course not. There should be. Does it mean that a summit should never take place? A summit would be fine, but it's got to be properly prepared to produce an outcome that the American president can articulate in advance and produce in the aftermath. The outcome that this American president articulated, a ceasefire or consequences, he did not produce. And that is why I think we find ourselves in a difficult situation today. But Martha, this isn't over. There will be a meeting with Zelensky and European leaders, and then we'll see what happens after that. My hope is that President Trump will see, in hindsight, that President Putin is just trying to take us all for a ride, to keep this war going, keep attacking Ukraine without facing additional pressure. And we've got to cut him off at the pass today.
One of the things...
That's how someone whose brain work speaks, Cosmo, if you're still here, electrical engineer and biomedical. Sorry. That's how a smart person uses deductive reasoning to decide what's best for people. But that's the point. I think when you hear a lot of Democrats or people speak, they're speaking aspirationally. Hopefully Trump will understand. No, I think Trump does understand. I don't think Trump cares. I think Trump is invested in Putin somehow helping him steal the midterms. This is 100% my opinion, allegedly, just things because I've read so many things. I mean, that's what I think, but just saying. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get his name wrong. Is it Jason Crow? I don't like to get Congress people. It's Jason Crow, right? Before I say it. Yes, okay, got it right. 6th District of Colorado. Did not make that up. So Jason Crow was speaking right after Jake Sullivan. I love Jason Crow.
On Ukraine, you know that the U.S. intelligence assessment is that the battlefield is turning in Russia's favor, despite the fact that Putin has to rely on Iran and North Korea to keep this thing going. If neither President Biden nor President Trump were ever willing to commit troops, doesn't the Secretary have a point that it has to be hammered out at the negotiating table?
You know, this absolutely will end at a negotiating table, like most conflicts will. But what happened on Friday was a historic embarrassment for the United States. There's no other way to put it. Right? You listen to what Marco Rubio and the president have said. They keep on saying they're dedicating time. They're making it a priority. They're focusing their attention on it. In any negotiation, when you're trying to end an armed conflict, there's nothing more important than understanding what motivates your adversary. What is making Vladimir Putin tick in this instance? Vladimir Putin does not care about the amount of time that we're allocating to this, does not care about a B-2 bomber flyover, does not care about a lineup of F-22 fighters rolled out. He doesn't care about any of that. What Vladimir Putin cares about is basically three things. He cares about economic pressure in the form of sanctions. He cares about political, diplomatic isolation, being a pariah state, and he cares about military defeat. Those are the three things that will end this conflict. If he feels pressure on all of those three fronts, and this administration continues to be unwilling to do anything to assert pressure in any of those three areas.
And that's the truth, right? I mean, truly. And when we talk about sanctions, not U.S. sanctioning Russia directly, but us sanctioning people who are paying for Russia's war. That's what we're talking about. Cutting them off from resources, actual defeat, right? Once we cut them off from resources, being humiliated, not to say he's winning now because he's not. These are the things this man cares about, not Trump trying to get on his knees for him on a red carpet. It's so weird. Thank you, guys. Keep tapping the screen. Share the live in the bottom right-hand corner if you would like to subscribe. I'm trying to get back to 400 subscriptions. That's the yellow star in the left-hand corner. If you're just joining, this is the People's Receipts, where I use primary and secondary resources to deduce, to just expose the pathological lies of Trump and all the idiots that follow him. And we are talking about Trump getting on his knees for Putin on Friday and the effects of that after.
But compare that to what this administration has done, which has relieved almost all pressure. Like, look at what happened on Friday. U.S. military personnel in uniform literally were on their hands and knees rolling out a red carpet for the most murderous dictator of the 21st century. Somebody who is kidnapped and is holding prisoner tens of thousands of Ukrainian children. Somebody who started this whole war. Right? This both sidesism that the administration is engaging in, that both sides need to come to the table and negotiate. Ukraine is the victim. They are the victim. They didn't start this war, Russia did. And somehow we keep on acting like Vladimir Putin deserves to be brought out into the open like any other head of state. Yeah. This is a historic embarrassment and defeat for U.S. foreign policy. But
Thank you. That is such a great way. And thank you for subscribing, Amanda. And thanks for calling it out, Joanna, because I am having the hardest time. It used to show up on my screen like a yellow bar. Hopefully when I will re-download, I'm in TikTok Studio on a PC. I'm not like on a phone or anything. Hopefully when I re-download it, that will return, because it's super hard for me to tell when people subscribe. Appreciate it, Amanda. Steph, thank you for the super chat. Glad to have you back. I could listen to you mock MAGA all day. It's so simple. I know. It's like the easiest job on earth. Oh my God. So this is such a good one. I love this. So this is I think it's a former Supreme Court judge from the UK, basically just being like, hey, yeah, like Trump's autocratic, which it's too big a word for MAGA. So again, I'm not going to use authoritarian or autocratic. I'm just going to say like gangster, grifter, thieving tendencies were obvious to people with brains for a long time. And when I heard this, I was like, God, that's such a great way to break it down.
He is dishonest, narcissistic, ignorant, and inexperienced. His autocratic tendencies were perfectly obvious in the campaign, and I would have regarded that as more important than the particular issues. There are many factors which determine the choice of a president, and it seems to me that those who voted for Donald Trump were being rather selective in the factors that they regarded as important. To my mind, most of the things that a president will have to deal with in the course of the 4 years in power will not have been predictable at the time of his election, and a great deal of importance therefore attaches to what sort of person he is. If I was an American voter and I entirely agreed with all of Donald Trump's policies, I would still have voted against him because, as a personality, he is dishonest, narcissistic, ignorant, and inexperienced. He has a devastating capacity to immunize himself from any kind of advice. His autocratic tendencies were perfectly obvious in the campaign.
A devastating capacity, because MAGA, you can't even understand what this man is so intelligent. MAGA has no idea what they're listening to. A devastating capacity to immunize himself from advice, meaning this man is so stupid that when people who know better than him try to help him, he is too stupid to listen. We are the laughing stock of the world. And you guys are like, well, he makes sense to me. Yeah, because you're stupid. If Trump makes sense to you, you are an idiot. And you should endeavor to become less of an idiot. That is my challenge to you, MAGA. If Trump makes sense to you, you're stupid. And you should look into being less stupid. That is your goal. Be less stupid. What is wrong with all of you? You are being robbed, and you're like, yep, makes sense to me because I'm a man, and I love this man who said men shouldn't wear makeup, but he has makeup on, and he's getting on his knees for this other man while I watch, and I can't read or do math. People keep telling me he's robbing me, but that makes sense. Well, he probably wouldn't because he said he wouldn't. You are stupid. MAGA, your goal is every day become a little less stupid. Truly. And I'm saying that not because I give a shit. I mean, for you guys, you're being robbed by the person you are loudly supporting every day. Become less stupid, a little less stupid every day. Slightly, right? It's a process. You have to learn to read and find correct information on the internet. But let's just rewind a little bit and listen to this man. I know the words are too big for MAGA, but I mean, this is the truth of what is wrong with MAGA. Like, you guys have no idea what's going on.
He is dishonest, narcissistic, ignorant, and inexperienced. His autocratic tendencies were perfectly obvious in the campaign, and I would have regarded that as more important than the particular issues. There are many factors which determine the choice of a president, and it seems to me that those who voted for Donald Trump were being rather selective in the factors that they regarded as important. But to my mind, most of the things that a president will have to deal with in the course of the 4 years in power will not have been predictable at the time of his election, and a great deal of importance therefore attaches to what sort of person he is. If I was an American voter and I entirely agreed with all of Donald Trump's policies, I would still have voted against him because, as a personality, he is dishonest, narcissistic, ignorant, and inexperienced. He has a devastating capacity to immunize himself from any kind of advice. His autocratic tendencies were perfectly obvious in the campaign, and I would have regarded that as more important than the particular issues. And the reason why I would have taken that view is one which I referred to earlier. I think to sustain a democracy, you have to regard the democratic process as more important than winning on particular issues. Trump does not take that view, and I fear that many of the Americans who voted for him didn't take that view either. That is why their decision may well cause American democracy to fail. He is dishonest.
Sorry, you can find it's on Unheard. He's a former UK Supreme Court judge, and I don't have his name. Sorry, I have a million things I was doing today, and I found this clip, and I was like, fine. I didn't get to do that. He's a former UK Supreme Court judge. You just look up, Google that, and find his picture, and then you can find his name and tell me. I don't think, let me just, because like I said, wait, no, I'm going the wrong way. Hold on. Yeah, this guy, because sometimes when I get clips, it's off these like accounts that are just reposting things, and yeah, he doesn't know. This is not someone who's big on details, so sorry. Oh my gosh, am I going to show the Zelensky stuff? I have so many things to show, and sorry, hold on. What the F is going on with? Sorry, I thought I got a violation, but it was just some large thing popping up. I thought it was a puzzle piece. It is not. My screen, just something covered it, and now it's gone. So I guess everything's fine. Oh, and now I can see the yellow subscribe. Thank you for subscribing, M. Lynch. Now, I don't know what's going on. I can see the subscriptions again, so it's maybe something's getting better. Hold on. I've got to figure out how to go to scene layout so I can change the video. Okay, there we go. God, I should have. Sorry, I had so many things on my mind and I did not re-download. I want to show this "Oh, That's Rich" video because, like, I could play 100 clips of Trump lying and then I could debunk them, but I think it kills all of our spirit. I think we all know that everything Trump says is a lie and easily debunked. So I like "Oh, That's Rich." Let me show you. Well, because it's so light outside. It's OHH, 2 H's. That's Rich. I think everyone on TikTok kind of knows who this guy is. I like his videos because they make sense. He's lying about the election process, and here's likely why. And like, I could go into like Trump's grift. I could go on to several lines of logic of how Trump is either forced into his relationship with Putin or is benefiting from it. But I agree that, like, what seems to have come out of this weird Alaska meeting is Trump being like, see, I was right about the 2020 election, which is like, yeah, the guy who has been found to have interfered unequivocally, bipartisan, by a committee led by Marco Rubio to have interfered in the 2020 election. Now you're saying he didn't, and you're right. It's very confusing. But it is. I think it is too, because the first step in becoming a dictator is remaining in power. And he's trying to erode the election process and keep the majority in the midterms and beyond.
Okay, so now we know what they were talking about. This is why Trump